I woke up feeling like I was on the moon. I woke up feeling like I need 100 gold. Look at the flick of that wrist. Look at the flick of that wrist. Look at the flick of that wrist.
Welcome back, Wiffle enthusiasts. This is your Inside the GBL podcast, vlogcast, videocast for week number 9. Today, we're going to talk about the NWLA tournament that happened over the weekend. We're going to discuss what happened during these games for our GBL celebration station. We're going to talk about the champions. We're going to go over a little bit of the stats from the tournament. And then we're going to go right back into the league play for our GBL Week 9 that's coming up this Sunday at 3 o'clock. But first, let's talk about the NWLA tournament. It was a fun time. I'll give them that. We expected a little bit more than a 6th place finish, but we did really good this year. It's our highest finish so far this season. We're going to talk about a little bit of the games. Let's talk about the pool play first. Our GBL went 1-2 in the pool play. And in our first game, we played the Susquehanna River League. Great guys, by the way. Thanks for coming out. You guys had a good time. In the first game, we sent out Andrew Felday on the mound against SRL's Mark Bellis. And Felday was on point the entire game. In the first inning, he walked the first batter, then he struck out the side. At the end of the game, he ended up with 10 strikeouts. So he was ready for this tournament when it began. So thank you, Andrew Felday, for getting us over the hump over Game 1. But let's talk about the scoring. In the bottom of the first inning, our GBL got started off pretty fast. Nate Bryan single gave us a 1-0 lead. Ethan Arve fielder's choice gave us a 2-0 lead. And then right after that, helping himself, Andrew Felday went absolutely yard over the left field fence. And in the bottom of the first inning, the GBL was up 5-0 going into the second. So we pretty much had this one handled the way Andrew Felday was pitching. And in the bottom of the third, Gallagher got an RBI single to make it 6-0. And in the bottom of the fourth, Jeremy Radishak got another RBI single to make it 7-0. And due to the time constraints in pool play, you only get 45 minutes to complete the game. The game ended in 4 innings, and our GBL took home Game 1, 7-0 over SRL. And then our pool play also consisted of the Tampa Bay Wiffle Ball League, which we've never played yet, and Potomac Wiffle League. Our next game was against the Tampa Bay Wiffle Ball League. And during all these recaps, I'll have the stats posted on the sideline. If you already see them, you can see them right now. These are going to be all our stats for our GBL players at NWLA tournament. See how they did. But here's a Game 2 against the Tampa Wiffle Ball League. It was Radishak versus Efforts. And the top of the first inning, our GBL had the bases loaded, had a chance to score, probably our best chance we had all game. And then Feldy struck out swinging, and we didn't get many runs after that because in the at the bottom of the second, Derek Linderman for the Tampa Bay Lightning hit a 2-run home run off of Radishak, gave him a 2-0 lead, and that was all they needed. We did have one more chance to score in our second game in the top of the 5th. We had first and third with 2 outs, and Radishak struck out swinging. So the final score for that one was Tampa Bay 2, GBL 0. And then our last game of the pool play, this pool play thing was pretty much at the decide seeding. You can also look at it as a little bit of practice as well. We took on the Potomac Wiffle Ball League. A little bit of controversy in this game. In the first inning, we had Ethan Arve taking on Stephen Crawford. Arve was dealing, and then after a couple of batters, something happened to his arm when he was just throwing. Popped something maybe. Didn't look good because he did finish the inning, but he didn't pitch for the rest of the tournament. So our GBL celebration station lost a pitcher really early in the tournament before we can even get to the bracket play. In the bottom of the first, we loaded the inning, loaded the bases, and Andrew Felday flew out to end the inning, so we had a good chance to score there, but just couldn't capitalize. And in the top of the third, PWL scores on an error, a missed pegged attempt by Nate Bryant. It was an error to second base, and as he was going to third, Nate tried to peg him out, but just missed him. Thought he had him lined up as I was talking to him after the game, but what are you going to do? And apparently they scored right after that. After he missed the throw, guy came right home. It was 1-0 PWL. And then the bottom of the fourth, we had the bases loaded with 2 outs. Gallagher looked like a single. It was going to tie the game, but the ump called him out. There is no video replay in the NWLA tournament. We've done it here in the GBL, but he was safe by a few feet. There was a couple of bad calls during the tournament. The umps, you got to give them credit. They don't know much about the wiffle ball league. They did a good job this weekend, but there were still some questionable calls, as there always will be in any sort of game, sports game, baseball, basketball, football, even wiffle ball. But at the end of the game, the PWL, that error counted, and that's how they ended up winning. PWL took the game 1-0. Excuse me, and the GBL finished 1-2 in pool play and got the number 9 seed. And we got the SRL, the Susquehanna River League, got a rematch with us in the opening round of the bracket. And in the first game of the bracket, we started Andrew Felday, who can only go 1/3 of an inning due to some control issues, and he went up against Zach Artem. And in the bottom of the first, in the top of the first, we got started off really hot. First batter, Ryan Gallagher, a home run over the fist. Next batter, Jeremy Radshak going back to back. That's that Gas House Gorilla connection right there. We've seen that a few times this year already. Why not see it at the NWLA tournament? So our Gas House Gorillas gave us a 2-0 lead against the SRL in the opening round of bracket play. But, like I was saying, Felday struggled with his control. In the bottom of the first inning, they scored two on a walk and 2 on walks because he was wild, and 1 on a fielder's choice. So the SRL took a 3-2 lead going into the second. And in the bottom of the second, Resnick single, brings in 2 with men on second and third. So the SRL had a 5-2 lead in the opening round of the game, and we were kind of struggling to get runs going, but all of a sudden, in the top of the third, Gallagher answered right back with his second home run of the game to cut the lead to 2. It was still SRL 5, GBL 3 after 3 innings, and then after the 4th inning, the same score applied. And then the top of the 5th, our GBL started a rally to get the game tied. A Gallagher and a Rat single, then a Nate Bryan single brings in 1. And we are now down by 1, so it's SRL 5, GBL 4, and then in the top of and then right after that, Gallagher singles again to tie the game. It was 5-5, and then right after that, after we tied the game, we shut him down. Kuna came in for the last 2 innings, shut him down in the 5th and 6th inning, and then helped himself out by going yard in the top of the 6th with a 2-run bomb to give the GBL a 7-5 lead. And we ended up winning that game. The GBL Celebration Station took it 7-5, and we won our opening round of bracket play. And then our next game was against the Skibby Wiffle Ball League, the number 1 seed in the whole tournament, who were just crushing people in pool play. And it didn't go as expected for the Skibby Wiffle Ball League. In the top of the second, things started off really early. Rat singled, another walk and a walk. Bases were loaded for Kuna, and he walks, so the GBL took an early 1-0 lead in the second round against Skibby. And then the top of the third, things got absolutely crazy for the GBL. Let's go down the report here. I'll show you what happened and how we scored. Radishak singled. Arve walked. Kuna reaches on the air. The bases are loaded. Gallagher walks. 2-0 GBL. Nate Bryan walks. 3-0 GBL. I think there was an error in there, fielder's choice, so it was 4-0 GBL. Then Arve doubles, it was 5-0 GBL. Gallagher walks. Radishak walks, 6-0. Then Nate Bryan hit, I think it was 7-0 when Nate Bryan stood up to the plate with the bases loaded. And all of a sudden, boom, right over the left field fence, it's 11-0 GBL. And we are going crazy on the sideline, the celebration station, doing what they do best, celebrate. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. I know, that's for a couple of people out there. And eventually, Skibby answers back with Gus Skibby answers back in the bottom of the third with a 3-run bomb. But our GBL celebration station ended up winning the game 11-3. And we moved on after day 1, even after going 1-2 in pool play. Our GBL Celebration Station went 2-0 to start the tournament in the bracket, and things were looking very bright going into day 2. It looks like the GBL had a shot to take it all this year, but things don't always go as planned when it comes to wiffle ball. Because in day 2, against the Hessfield Hitmen, the Hessfield Wiffle Ball League, we had ourselves a ball game. It was Ryan Gallagher versus Matt Butt. Give me a second. Burnham? I'm going to say Matt Burnham. I'm sorry right now if I'm butchering your name. But things got started off early here in day 2. Hessfield scores 1 on a walk and 1 on a fielder's choice in the first inning. They took a 2-0 lead going into the second. We answered right back with 2 walks of our own by scoring. It was 2-2 after the second inning. In the bottom of the third inning, Brian Kelly hits a 2-run home run off of Ryan Gallagher off the foul pole. Let me give you a visual representation of this. My finger is the foul pole. The ball is the ball. I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious. So he hits it, goes down the left field line, it's curving way away. Here's the bottom of the fence, and it hits right there. It literally hits the bottom of the foul pole. It could have either been foul, a home run, or a double. And it ended up being a home run. And they ended up taking a 4-2 lead. But then we answered right back in the top of the 4th. The celebration station got something started. Arve walked in 1 to cut the lead to 1 after the bases were loaded, so it was 4-3. Kuna ties the game on a walk, so it was 4-4. Radishak reached on an error, and that run scored, so it was 5-4. And then another walk for Ethan Arve, and then it was 6-4. So the GBL celebration station pretty much thought they can shut the game down up 6-4. It looks like we're about to move on to play WSCM. I felt like everyone was looking too far ahead to the next game instead of focusing on the task at hand and taking down Hessfield. And then after we took the lead 6-4, that's all we would score. That's 6 runs is what we would have for the rest of the game. All hell broke loose. Our pitchers couldn't find the zone in the next inning. Gallagher loaded the bases. Jimmy Cole, tournament MVP, singled in 2, 6-6. We walked 2 more batters in, 8-6. And then Radishak came in with the bases loaded to relieve Ryan Gallagher after going down 8-6. And then Anthony Osplier doubled in 2, make it 10-6. And Radishak walked Giordano to make it 11-6. And that would ended up being our final score. We didn't really threaten too much in the last couple of innings. And Hessfield ended up taking down our GBL 11-6. And that knocked our celebration station down into the losers bracket, so we had one more chance. It was do or die to keep going. Every game from here on out was win or go home. And the GBL took on the home run league, the HRL, and this is one of the best pitching performances of the tournament between both teams. It was Matt Kuna versus Tyler Flakeney, and Flakeney was on fire, and so was Kuna. Each player didn't give up many scoring opportunities. Kuna was on fire through the whole game, and Flakeney was on fire through the whole game. The first hit of the game came in the bottom of the 3rd because this game was going by really fast. It was really hard to keep up with. The first hit came off of Kuna in the 3rd, nothing happened. The second hit came off of Kuna in the bottom of the 5th, nothing happened. And at that point, going into the 6th inning, Tyler Flakeney had a perfect game going. He had no walks and no hits allowed. No hits allowed. He found the strike zone. He wasn't wild. He was throwing strikes. He was making our team swing. And we just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn during this game. He was on fire. He had some good control, good movement on his pitches, and that's usually a formula for success at the NWLA tournament. And then we didn't get anything going in the top of the 6th. Kuna was trying to get us to extra innings, but the first 3 batters all singled, and that last single brought in the winning run of the game, and the HRL ended up winning over our GBL celebration station 1-0, and that eliminated the GBL from the bracket. Our best finish thus far, an automatic qualifying bid will be there for us next year in 2016. So it was a great showing. The players had a lot of fun. Anything else I should say about it? Maybe bring a couple of extra pitchers next time, because we did lose Arve in one game, and that kind of hurt our staff, because just going Kuna, Radishak, Gallagher, Feldy. I'd say bring a couple extra hitters, too. Maybe a 1 hitter or an extra pitcher. Maybe let's talk to the Taka drivers. and see if they want to bring a couple of extra people next year. The total roster number is 8, so you can definitely see the GBL bringing 8 next season, especially if they're looking to win. And then speaking of the festivities before the games, Matt Kuno went in our home run derby, represented our GBL. He got to the next round and didn't end up winning. The winner of that one was Gus Gibby, if I am not mistaken. Yes, it was Gus Gibby. In the All-Star game, yours truly was on color commentary. And Radishak was on the blue team, and they ended up losing 8-7 on a very controversial call where it looked like the blue team had a home run down the right field line, but the ump called it foul. I was sitting right there. It looked fair. I thought the game was over. But Radishak hit a 2-run home run during the All-Star Derby. All-Star game. All-Star Derby. What is that? That's something new. And those are the festivities before the game. There was no drunk run, though. I was still upset about that. That would have been kind of fun to watch. You chug a beer and run around the bases as fast as you can. That'd been fun. But due to the Soccer First complex in Ohio, there was no alcohol out on the ground, so I completely understand why they did that. Alright, and then speaking of the end of the tournament, the bracket as followed. After the end of the game, after we're on our way home, going back to Northwest Indiana, OCWA, the Ontario County Wiffle Association Freaky franchise, took on the Wiffle and Southeastern Michigan Dads, the champions of last season. And OCWA won a couple of years ago as well, so there was going to be no new champion. One of these two teams was going to want it more. And in the first game, OCWA decided to extend their tournament life and win the first game in the double elimination tournament. So it came down to a winner-take-all match against WSCM and OCWA in the last game. And it was the pitchers for the teams, Chris Rodner for OCWA, and Steven Farkas, the guy who does the hop step. Some nasty guy right there. I mean, I can't believe he could do that. That's insane stuff right there. No wonder why they win most of their games. That dude pitching on the mound half the time. It didn't end in 6 innings like a normal wiffle ball game would at NWLA. It ended in 11 innings. It was 1-1 going into the bottom of the 11th, and Kyle Tomlinson hits a walk-off home run to give WSCM a 2-1 win and their second championship in as many years. So they went back-to-back. Congratulations to the WSCM Dads. Let's see if you guys can three-peat next year with the GBL right there knocking on the doorstep. Who knows? A little side notes for the tournament. Our tournament MVP, Jimmy Cole from the Hessfield Hitmen. The Dangerfield champs, the Minnesota National Wiffle Association Gophers. The Home Run Derby champ, Gus Skibby, and the All-Star MVP was Greg Tyler. Congratulations to all the players. And congratulations to everyone who came out to the tournament and played. It was a fun tournament. I'm pretty sure everyone had fun playing. Except for the sun, it was really hot. As you can see, I got myself a nice little farmer's tan. Yeah, not cool. I got farmer's tan on my sandals too. It kind of sucks. My face was peeling and stuff, but I was just sitting there, so it was hot. I was sweating like crazy. All right, but that was our NWLA tournament recap. That should end the stats for everything too. Let's go back to what we're here for, our Inside the GBL TV show. Back to the GBL we go. And after last week, the standings are becoming more clear. The top 4 teams, as in order, Nighttime Ninjas, Gas House Gorillas, Taka Drivers, and Stallionaires, those are looking like our 4 playoff teams. So let's see if the Bird Gang or the Lightning can make a little run at the end to put some pressure on the Stallionaires and or Gorillas and Taka Drivers. But in our first game on Sunday, at 3 p.m. and 4 p.m., we have the Bird Gang at 5-11 taking on the Gas House Gorillas at 9-7. Probable pitchers for the Bird Gang, most likely they're going to be Lucas Baker and Zach Duviak. And then the probable pitchers for the Gas House Gorillas are probably going to be Jim Tucker and Ryan Gallagher. Let's talk about a little bit about the Bird Gang. Nick Trouse played his last games in Week 8. He's going off to school, so back to ISU he goes. And how do you replace these numbers? He's batting .483 with 7 home runs and 17 RBIs. with a 5.59 on base percentage, and on the mound he's 2-2 with a 3.00 ERA. He has the lowest ERA on his team and the highest batting average on the Bird Gang. So it's going to be very hard to replace them. It's going to be they're going to need a collection of players to help them replace what Nick Troush brought to the table for the last few weeks. Lucas Baker needs to find his groove again on the plate, and he also needs to find his groove on the mound. Duvey needs to help out a little bit, and Zarowski looks like the most improved player so far this season. Needs to keep hitting the way he's been hitting early on in the season, so his Bird Gang has a shot to get back in to the playoffs. And without Cole Feldman, since they just traded him, like Baker and Duvey and Zarowski need to be ready if they plan on making a nice little playoff run. Because Troush was the only pitcher on the roster with an ERA below 4, so that's going to be tough for the Bird Gang to keep teams low scoring, especially a team like the Gas House Gorillas, who we know are looking for their 4th straight championship this season. And as of right now, you never know. They could get there. And so to make the playoffs, the Bird Gang are going to have to win out and go 9-11. While the Stallionaires, Gas House Gorillas, and Taka Drivers, any combination of those 3 teams need to lose as many games as possible for the Bird Gang just to get into the playoffs. But I consider that highly unlikely for the Bird Gang. Those forfeits in the first week of the season are coming back to haunt them, because if they played those games they were playing the Lightning, who knows, they could be 7-9 and right behind the Stallionaires for the last playoff spot. And then let's talk a little bit about the Gas House Gorillas. Jim Tucker, let's see, can he continue his Cy Young performance? He's 7-1 in 26 innings pitched with 29 strikeouts and a 1.73 ERA. He's been by far the best starting pitcher in the GBL this season. He's almost unhittable. He's lost 1 game. Let's see if he can keep it up. And he's also being considered for an MVP vote. And then Ryan Gallagher turned it around this weekend at the NWLA tournament. He was on fire. He was in the zone this weekend. He was the best hitter for the GBL at the NWLA tournament. Let's see if this can carry over. At the NWLA tournament, if you haven't seen the post already, he was hitting .310 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. And in the GBL, he's hitting .297 with 5 home runs and 11 RBIs. And he's played more games in the GBL. That's why he's got more power numbers. But this is Ryan Gallagher turning the corner a couple of weeks ago and starting to get in the groove, back into a groove of his hitting. This is what he had to say.
Got a couple of RBIs, a couple of hits, and things starting to turn around for you behind the plate?
Hey, most of the season I've been kind of struggling, trying to finish games pitching and hitting. So I tried to just try and finish, just try and stay fundamental, just try and stay strong throughout the season. We gotta be strong throughout the second half. We want to make a World Series run.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
All right, that was Ryan Gallagher about his performance in the later weeks. Just like Gallagher, he did well at the NWLA tournament hitting-wise. But Jeremy Radishak surprisingly did not. He had his worst tournament thus far, and he's been on fire in the GBL. He's hitting .431 with 16 home runs and 39 RBIs. So let's see if he can find his way out of that slump from the NWLA, because we do use different balls, as you can tell, than the NWLA tournament. This is what Radishak had to say about sweeping last week and his team coming up in future weeks as of Week 9 and Week 10 and going into the playoffs. This is what the commish had to say.
Gas House just swept the Lightning, now tied for second place with the Taka Drivers. Making a comeback here after starting slow this season. What has changed over the first half?
Well, I think with Gallagher's first year back here with the team, team chemistry was an issue here. Losing Ethan, we had a nice core with Ethan and Tuck. Now that Gallagher's back, we're used to having him back, and he's doing a hell of a job. He's really turned it around here.
Right.
So him being a better player for us, both hitting and pitching and defensively even. Him getting more accustomed to the new bats, it's really helped us. He's really turning it up a notch, and I credit him and Tuck for doing a great job.
All right, thank you, Rad.
All right, that was Jeremy Radishak. Thank you, Jeremy and Ryan, for the great interviews. All the Gas House Gorillas need is 1 win to secure a playoff spot, and they're in for another season and to defend their title once again. And I believe they're going to do it in my predictions. In Game 1, I have the Gas House Gorillas winning 7-2 over the Bird Gang. And in Game 2, I have the Gas House Gorillas winning 4-3 in the second game. So things are going to get a little closer in the second game. And the first game with Tucker on the mound, I just believe they're going to win that game easily. And then the second game, I think the Bird Gang will fight back a little bit and give the Gas House Gorillas some game. But at the end of the day, I believe the Gas House Gorillas are going to end up securing their playoff bid and going to improve to 11-7 on the season. And then at the games at 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., we have the Nighttime Ninjas at 12-4 taking on the Stallionaires at 7-7. For the Nighttime Ninjas, we got Kubaki Jr. and most likely Sammy Kruchek for the starters, since Ethan Arve did hurt his shoulder over the weekend. We're not entirely sure if he's going to be okay to pitch for the rest of the season. And for the Stallionaires, I believe we're going to have Kuna Pasic and Matt Kuna pitching on them on the mound, because they're going to start needing to win some games to avoid the Bird Gang giving them some trouble in the playoff spots. Let's talk about the Nighttime Ninjas a little bit. Ethan Arve did hurt himself at the NWLA tournament, if you haven't heard me say it like 4 other times. So what is manager Mike Kubaki going to do? They're already in the playoffs. They didn't guarantee themselves the number 1 seed yet, but they're very close. So I believe he'll pitch himself in Game 1, as he usually does. And then he'll probably throw out Sammy Kruchek in Game 2. It didn't seem to really affect Ethan's hitting at the tournament, but you could definitely tell throwing a ball was a little difficult for him. So let's hope he gets better soon, and the Nighttime Ninjas can use him in the playoffs. Because he's 4-2 and 2-for-3 on saves with a 3.10 ERA. And he struck out 34 people with his pitching numbers this season, so they're going to be missing him on the mound in the last 4 weeks, or in the last 4 games, if he can't go. But they're already guaranteed a playoff spot, so it's not that big of a deal. They can probably give him some rest and hope he's ready for the playoffs in a few weeks. Speaking of another player on their team, pitching-wise, Kubaki Jr. started off red hot on the mound and at the plate this season, but it's cooled off since. What is it going to take for him to find a groove again? It looks like here and there you can see glimpses of what he did earlier in the season, like that grand slam a couple weeks ago. And on the mound, he's having some big troubles. He's getting that game against Bird Gang last week, gave up 7 runs just like that in 2 innings, and he was out. He took himself out, but luckily him and his team caught fire in the bottom half of that inning and took the lead against the Bird Gang. So let's see if he can find his groove on the mound once again. And then Sammy Kruchek, ever since he came to play earlier in the year, he's been on fire and been one of the most important players on the Nighttime Ninjas. He's hitting .489 with 9 home runs and 18 RBIs. He's 2-0 on the mound with a 2.86 ERA and 14 RBIs. So he's been very crucial as well to the Nighttime Ninjas' success this season. And as you know, the Ninjas were the first team to secure a playoff spot for the GBL, so congratulations to you guys. And they only need a couple of wins. If they win both these games against the Stallionaires this week, they're going to be the number 1 seed no matter what happens. And then, speaking about the Stallionaires, let's move to the next team, the Nighttime Ninjas' opponent for this week. Oh, actually, first, let me back up a little bit. Speaking of Sammy Kruchek, we got a little interview with him last week on how he's doing this year, and the sweep they just pulled off against the Bird Gang last week. This is what Sammy Kruchek had to say in Week 8.
Big power today, Sammy. How do you feel, man? Great game. Swept the Bird Gang.
Well, I mean, I'm seeing the ball good. That helps. I mean, my teammates also put up some good numbers today, so that was huge. I mean, and then whenever you got Ethan on the mound for any game, it's huge. So, I mean, he shut down pretty good at the start of the second game, and it was just kind of wheeling from there. And it was fun.
All right, thanks, Sammy. Good luck for the rest of the season. You guys are in the playoffs.
Thank you.
All right, that was Sammy Kruchek about Week 8's action. Let's go right back to the Stallionaires. Sorry for a little back-and-forth affair right there. After dropping both games to the Taka Drivers last week, kind of surprising to my standards, the Stallionaires need to keep winning to make the playoffs. They're going to have a little bit of trouble if they can't get their offense going, because last week they only scored in Week 8, they only scored 2 runs against the Taka Drivers in 2 games. So they have a little trouble on the offensive side, or they could just be playing possum and saving it for the playoffs, because we know that team can hit. So we'll see what happens. But they still do have the league's best pitching. That's still going for them at a 2.21 team ERA. So it's yin and yang here, being like you got your pitching strengths and then your hitting. It's basically one weakness versus a strength, and it still got them to 7-7 on the year. So let's see if they can keep it up and get some momentum and find some momentum going into the playoffs. Nate Bryant's been pitching on the mound pretty well this season. I wouldn't say it's his strongest asset. I'm pretty sure he's one of the best fielders in the league. But this year, he's 3-3 with a 2.5 ERA and 26 innings pitched. So he's doing pretty well for himself on the mound, fooling some hitters like the Lightning, Bird Gang. He's fooling people. So let's see if he can keep that up and take that into the playoffs as well. Matt Kuna's starting to find his swing, hitting over 400 now with 10 home runs. So he's right there in the top 5 in home runs this season. And as I was saying before, Kuna's on fire lately with 10 home runs. For that little edit there, now we know my camera just shuts off automatically at 30 minutes recording video. So here's the next part of the Inside the GBL week number 8. So their team batting average for the Stallionaires is 294. Like I said, Kuna turned around with 10 home runs now. He's on fire lately. And you know he's dominant on the mound. But our predictions for these last 2 games, we have the Stallionaires taking game 1, 7-5 over the Ninjas. And in the second game, I have the Ninjas taking game 2, 4-1. Moving on to our nightcap, hosted by yours truly, me, Tyler Walk, Mr. Fucking Awesome, at TWalkGBL. Follow our Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, and everything else. We have the 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. nightcaps. We have the Lightning, who are 4-10, taking on the Taka Drivers, who are 9-7. For the Lightning, we have Andrew Felday and Cole Felday are probably going to go starters. And then for the Taka Drivers, I have Mark Mesnikowski and Chris Bartley. Let's talk about the Lightning first. They've struggled all season. They have 2 wins officially, and 2 wins unofficially via forfeit, and 2 losses unofficially via forfeit. So technically, they're only 2-8 when games played. So that's not a very good winning percentage. They've struggled all season. And it looks like this flagship franchise may be heading into a new direction coming into the 2016 season. But we'll focus on 2015 right now. Because manager Andrew Felday has been the most consistent player on his team. Been there for all the games they have played in. He's hitting .250 with 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. And he has a .435 on base percentage. But his strongest suit's on the mound. His GBL numbers don't show it, but his NWLA numbers do. He's 1-2 with a 4.20 ERA and 25 innings pitched. So you expect some good things out of Felday when he's pitching. It's just a matter of finding his control when he's on the mound. So he was great at the NWLA tournament, and he had the 2nd most strikeouts on our team. So congratulations to Andrew Felday. And then for the Lightning, since Felday can pitch, there really is no other person to pitch but his brother Cole. So Cole's going to have to go out there and pitch a few innings just to see if the Lightning can keep it going this season and maybe find themselves out of the rut at the end of the season, maybe get a 4-game winning streak and finish the season at 8-10. We'll see if that can happen. And then if that does happen, if the Stallionaires record is as or near the same, those games are going to have to be made up if they do. Because, like I said, if Cole needs to pitch, because Andrew Felday has already got 25 innings pitched, innings pitched can be an issue in this league. It can hurt your arm a little bit. We've seen a couple people come out because their arm has been hurting, so we'll see what happens this week for week 9. And on the hitting side, the best hitter on the team this season was a late addition. It's Derek Rivas. That's correct. I said Derek Rivas. He's hitting .333 with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs, so minimal at bats, but he's still got the best batting average on the team, so he's showing some promise for the Lightning. Let's see if he can continue that success in week 9 and week 10, and see if the Lightning can turn the corner and miraculously find themselves in the playoffs. And their opponent, the Taka Drivers, got their first sweep last week. Let's see what they had to say. I sat down Jackson Buzia, Ryan Bogus, and Chris Bartley talking about their first sweep and what's coming up. This is what they had to say.
All right. Jackson, Ryan, Chris, Taka Drivers, first sweep of the season. How do you guys feel about this? Chris?
We feel pretty good. We got the sweep without our ace pitching, so, you know, that's going to do nothing but help our confidence. We got some innings for me, which up to this point I had like 3 with a bunch of runs, so that's pretty good, I guess.
Jackson?
It's good. You know, Mez came back, pitched really well. 3 innings, 1 run. Chris Bartley showed he could throw a little cheese on the mound and hit a home run. The sleeves should be coming off pretty soon.
I will say that there was a dead ball today, and with the fact that I did hit a dinger, maybe the sleeves do come off next week.
All right.
The poll has to become official, though.
All right,
Commish.
Ryan, how do you feel about it?
I told you we'd sweep. We swept. That's all I got to say.
And
Thank
Ryan Bogus played great defense today.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Golden hands, Mamony.
All right, that was the Taka Drivers, Jackson Buzia, Ryan Bogus, and Chris Bartley. They're having a very good season at 9-7. Before the season, I expected them to get into the playoffs just as a dark horse surprise. Just looking at their roster, they look like a good team. I'm glad they're making me justified by making that decision. Thank you, Taka Drivers, and thank you for all the support, by the way. Except for you, Ryan. You suck. And they are, in my opinion, the most complete team besides Ryan Bogus. They really don't have any weaknesses besides Ryan Bogus. Bartley's been on fire as of late. He's hitting .352 with 6 home runs and 21 RBIs, so he's been keeping it up. His power numbers are getting up there. I got Ryan Bogus' numbers here. He's hitting .375 with 3 home runs and 14 RBIs, and he's 4-3 with a 2.88 ERA. Those numbers say they're good, and then I look at them and I just see zeros all over the board because I just know he's terrible. And he most likely won't pitch until the playoffs because his arm's falling off. I mean, I understand. You're pitching a lot of innings, kid, man. Sucks, right? But they're going to save him for the playoffs because he's one of their best pitchers on the team, in all honesty. But in my opinion, he still sucks. He's always waiting on the inside of GBL. I said it was coming, man. It's going to be there a little bit later today, all right? It's coming right now. You're watching it as we speak. And then after a few weeks, after Mark Mesnikowski took a few weeks off, he returned and lowered his ERA to 1.94. So with a combination of Bogus, Mesnikowski, Bartley, and Buzia, this team is one of the most complete teams in the GBL. They can field, hit, and pitch. So they're going to be a tough outcome playoff time. And in my predictions, I have the Taka Drivers sweeping the Lightning and giving the Lightning no more hope for the rest of the season, and giving the Taka Drivers a good position going forward into the playoffs. In the first game, I have them winning 11-3, and in the second game, I have the Taka Drivers winning 7-2. And so our standings by the end of at the end of week 9, I have the Nighttime Ninjas at 13-5. I have the Gas House Gorillas and Taka Drivers at 11-7. I have the Stallionaires at 8-8. I have the Bird Gang at 5-13. I have the Lightning at 4-12. Pretty much securing the top 4 teams in the playoffs after week 9. This is what I think is going to happen. We'll see if that happens. And then a little side note, our MVP race is getting a little closer than I expected after looking through all the stats. I have them ranked in order. I have Ethan Arve number 1 in the MVP race. Then a little surprise for most, I have Jim Tucker at number 2. Because without him on the mound this season, where would the Gas House Gorillas be? He's got 7 of their 9 wins, so he's been very vital to the Gas House Gorillas' success this season. Number 3, I have Jackson Buzia. He's been on fire. He's hitting .500 at the plate, so you got to give him some props. Number 4, I have Jeremy Radishak, because he's a Silver Slugger candidate as we speak right now, and most likely could win that award. Sammy Kruchek at number 5, and then I got Matt Kuna at number 6. Those are my top 6 MVP candidates. It's going to be really hard to decide between one of those 6. We'll find out after the season ends what their numbers are going to look like. It's going to be tough. The other awards we'll discuss later, and probably the week after the last week of the season. And that's all I got for so far today. I want to thank all the people who helped me at the NWLA tournament. Carl, John, and Trent. Carl Coffey was really nice when I was there, giving me a little insiders about my inside the GBL. I want to thank John and Trent for helping me on the play-by-play during the All-Star game when I was the color commentary. And I just want to thank the NWLA tournament for bringing in the GBL once again. And then some sad news came out the other day. It looks like Jeremy Rashak will be stepping down from the NWLA host committee. He did a really good job this season, this year, and in years past. So we want to thank Jeremy Rashak, our commissioner, and former NWLA host committee member. So we want to thank you for all the work you have put in to make this league what it is today. But that is all I got so far. Congratulations to the WSCM dads, and I look forward to seeing all the teams in Week 9 for the GBL. You guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. Wiffle out, motherfuckers.